Okay, we're going to show you this mask. And like I told you, there's a lot of patterns out there, but we will make sure we have a link that shows you this pattern. It's one that uses ties. Understand that that's a personal preference if people like a tie or elastic, but our shop is completely out of elastic, and some of you at home may not have access to elastic either, so I thought it made sense to show you this. But again, hope that this sew along is just about you sewing with anything and just enjoying. Let's build a community and do this together. So this is the one that we're going to walk through. You know, it can expand. It's got darts that really kind of help pull it around the face. So this is the one that we are going to make. You'll see on the files that we've given you, there's only one pattern piece. I actually cut mine out of a box top just so that we could look at it. It could last a little longer. And we are going to cut 2 of these on fold. This is the fold. And I'm using a fabric that has a front and a back, which will be kind of helpful. You'll see in one of the steps. As you get more proficient with these, that's going to be less important, but for this purpose, I'm going to go ahead and use a fabric that has a front and a back. And yes, this is a Liberty. This is something that I found in my stash. I thought the colors were great. It's one of their lifestyles that they came out many, many years ago. Okay, so you've got a front and a back, and you're going to stack those with right to wrong side together. They are not right sides together or wrong sides together. It's right to wrong sides. They're stacked. We're kind of making it 2-ply. The next thing that you need, and I've written all these instructions, once you get your pattern piece, they'll be on there, that you need 2 strips that are 1.5 inches by 40, and then you need a strip that is 1.5 inches by 20. So you'll have 3 strips total. I'm going to move over to the ironing board, and I'm going to show you a tool that I love. This is a bias tape maker. Some of you may have one of these. If you don't, you could get your hands on one. They are super. If not, you obviously can make bias tape without one of these, but I'm going to show you how quickly that runs. To make bias tape using this product by Clover, we're starting with 1.5 inches wide, which is what your pattern piece told you to take. And what I do is I'll take my scissors or rotary and cut kind of a nice diagonal corner so that it will go through the end of your bias tape maker. And you see, as you pull it through, it's got these grooves that will make it fold in place. You can see as it goes through the grooves, you see it's pulling through this piece. It's folding it in by 1/4 inch and 1/4 inch. And as you pull it through the channel, then it's going to continue to fold that forward. If you can see that's, I want to give you a close-up of that. Now, working with a hot iron, since this is already folded flat, we're going to just set our iron right on that. And as you pull this, you can use this to keep your hand away from this lever. Keep your hand away from the hot iron. But you just pull this back and you pull this across. And as you can see, you are making bias as you go. And then when you pull it completely off the end of the bias tape maker, now you need to go back and you can do your center folded in half, and you've got an exact 1/4 inch binding that you end up with. So let's finish pressing that all the way across. And now we can repeat that. This is your shortest your 20-inch piece, but you can continue that with your other pieces. So you've got your two pieces. Again, they are laying on top of each other, right to wrong. And we're going to work with 1/4-inch seams, and we are going to sew all the way around. Okay. Then we are going to put in our pleats. So, you've got your piece sewn together. We're going to divide this up into sections, and we're going to take it over to the ironing board. But you want your finished edge here to be about 3 inches. So you're going to fold up and go over to your ironing board and fold up a pleat that is about 1/4 of an inch deep, and you want 3 of those pleats. So however is easiest for you to do. Since this isn't precision sewing, we can kind of do that over at the ironing board and put those pleats in. So let's go do that. Okay, we are going to put in our pleats, and like I said, you can mark these. You're putting in 1/4-inch pleats that after you put in all 3, you want this edge to equal about 3 inches. You can see on our pattern piece that we've marked that for you. It's hard for you to see on this sample, but you'll see that on your pattern piece. And you know, certainly our pattern piece is available that you could download. Or you could take the measurements and just draw one for yourself. Oops. Okay. I wanted to show you again that what you're trying to get here is this to be about 3 inches from here to here on both sides. Okay, now you just want to, let's just tack these pleats down with a quick basting stitch. On either side. Okay, now we're going to put in our darts. The darts are at the top and the bottom, and they help to give it more of that balloon and rounded across the face look. You're going to stitch, after you fold this in half, right sides together, we're going to stitch across the top and the bottom right at the, this is at the nose and this is at the chin to give you some perspective. So we're going to put that here. And again, these lines are drawn on your pattern piece, but I've made a couple of these already, and so I've kind of figured out where to put those without having to draw them on. Okay. Now you want to trim that away. And if you had pinking shears, it would be great. I'm going to go back in and just finish those seams with a wide zigzag stitch. Just to finish these, because there's a chance that they could be exposed, and since these are going to be washed quite a bit, it'd be good to have these seams finished, because they may not be tucked under the bias band in a minute. So let's complete this side. Okay. have more of that cupped kind of look. Okay, now we're going to take, we've got our bias bands that we made using our handy tool. So you've got the two longest ones. So you want to take your shorter band and looking from the right side, you want to put your bias strip, let some hang over the top, and you want to stitch that on. Matching up the raw edges. Oops, I forgot to put it back straight. It's a straight stitch. So with our straight stitch, and you see, since we'd already created that bias strip, it'll just wrap around and completely encase that seam. And we can go to this back side. I'm actually going to trim a little bit. I guess that had a little extra. I was not quite precise on my 1/4 inch. Sorry, ladies. But it'll wrap around. And then from this back edge, you can top stitch. So that you have put your bias strip, and pardon me, I keep calling these bias strips. They are not bias strips because we did not cut them on the bias. I actually cut mine on the straight of grain. We're not going around curves, so you don't need them to be on the bias strip. But you see there that that's how it finished. So we trim those and we go over and we do it on the other side. Again, I'm placing it a little bit farther to that edge. Right sides together. Okay. So now all we need to finish is around this edge and to get our ties completed. So take one of your long strips and kind of fold it in half and find your center point. And then from that center point, you want to match that up this is where pins will be helpful. Pin that in place and bring it forward all the way to the edge. Let's pin it down this side as well. Okay, and again, just like we had done it on the sides to finish off that edge. Okay, trim off our tails. Now, what we're going to do is wrap that all the way over, and we're going to start at the very end. And I'm just finishing these by taking the very end of the strip and folding it into itself and over. You see this has a nice long white selvage edge. But you're going to stick that under, and we're going to sew all the way from one edge to the next. Okay, now we're going to take our long tails we'll go ahead and straighten that off. And we're going to fold that in, fold that over, and we are going to top stitch the pieces together, bias the strip together. Again, it's not cut on the bias. Sew that edge all the way down. And here we want to make sure we cover up that corner. And just top stitch this. Tuck that next edge in. And there you have it. All right, let's go do the other side. Fold that in half, find our center point, open it up, and this is when pins will be helpful. And again, there's so many variations to these, and I mean, I think the information every day is different. But what I think is really super is that it gives us, the sewing community, a very specific way that we can use our talents and our passions to be a part of a solution. Hopefully it's not a forever solution, but it is one that is needed today. So I'm going to even off that edge, I'm going to turn that in. Before we can go all the way across, though, we need to come here and we need to stitch this down. A mask ready. So let's move on to the next one.